Welcome. Today, we're diving into a topic that honestly is completely shrouded in silence, stigma, and just a whole lot of misinformation. We're talking about men's sexual and reproductive health. For this explainer, we're drawing on some truly fascinating insights from top andrologist Dr. Jindal to completely destigmatize the conversation around male sexual health. Our goal today is actually pretty simple, but it's powerful. We are going to replace societal shame with clear, science-backed medical realities. Okay, let's jump right in. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the men's health crisis, then cover erectile dysfunction and pornography, the global sperm decline, the king of hormones, premature ejaculation, and finally, how to go about reclaiming health. So let's get into our first topic. Part 1, the men's health crisis. It's really a silent epidemic. Look, the reality of men's health today is pretty jarring. The data shows us that 40% of men globally over the age of 40 experience some form of erectile dysfunction, or ED. But here is the number that should really make you stop and listen. 4. If a young man is dealing with ED, his risk of suffering a heart attack within the next 4 years is literally 4 times higher. Crazy, right? Well, why is that? It's because the penis actually acts as a barometer for your overall cardiovascular health. You see, the penile arteries are only half the size of the arteries in your heart. So if bad cholesterol is clogging up your system, those smaller penile arteries are going to get blocked first. This causes ED long before heart attack ever happens. Dr. Jindal uses this brilliant car analogy to explain what ED actually is. He says, the engine works, but the self-starter is broken. You see, ED is rarely just some isolated organ failure. It's actually a highly complex malfunction of the body's systems, whether that's your hormones, a cholesterol blockage, or neurological misfiring. Think of it like an electrical and plumbing issue, not just a broken machine. Moving on to part 2, erectile dysfunction and pornography, and the very real impact of our modern lifestyle.
So the crucial thing we need to understand is why this is surging in young men who don't even have severe cholesterol issues yet. And that brings us to the profound psychological impact of pornography. On one side, we have the performance of porn. This literally floods a young man's brain with dopamine, creating this desensitizing loop that acts almost exactly like a drug addiction. It creates wildly unrealistic expectations and absolutely crushing performance anxiety. But real intimacy, that's driven by oxytocin, the cuddling hormone, which fosters connection, presence, and a real sense of security. When a brain is wired for the extremes of porn, the quiet reality of human intimacy can trigger severe performance anxiety.
To really grasp just how powerful the mind is in all of this, you've got to hear this incredible story. Dr. Jindal had a young suicidal patient facing severe ED right before an arranged marriage. The doctor gave him a special pill to place on his tongue during intimacy, promising it was going to cure him. Well, the next morning, the young man returned literally crying tears of joy because it worked perfectly. That magic pill? It was just a placebo, a simple vitamin C tablet. His ED was entirely psychological, rooted completely in performance anxiety. It really highlights how deeply emotional and mental this crisis actually is. All right, part 3, the global sperm decline, a truly silent crisis. We need to shift our focus for a second to a crisis that's affecting the future of humanity itself, and that's the decline of sperm. Over the last 40 years, average sperm counts have plummeted by a staggering 52%. And what's worse, a decline that was steady over 30 years has rapidly accelerated in just the last 10. The young men you see walking around today literally have half the sperm count of their grandfathers. Half. If this trend continues, human reproduction is going to face unprecedented difficulties. So, what's causing all of this? Dr. Jindal breaks it down brilliantly using the acronym SPERM to highlight everyday lifestyle choices. S is for stress and a lack of sleep. P is for poisons, things like smoking, vaping, and alcohol. E stands for exercise absence, basically our modern sedentary lives. R is for radiation and heat. Think about keeping hot laptops directly on your lap. And finally, M is for macronutrient-poor diets, full of processed foods and totally lacking the crucial Mediterranean-style nutrients our dividing cells desperately need to survive. While we're on the subject, we also have to debunk a massive societal myth, the whole anxiety over thick versus thin semen. People panic. They think thin semen automatically means low sperm, but the reality? In an average ejaculation of 2.5 milliliters, actual microscopic sperm makes up only a tiny fraction of that volume. The vast majority of the whole shebang is simply fluid from the prostate and seminal vesicles. The physical thickness of the fluid actually has absolutely nothing to do with the count of your microscopic sperm. We also really need to address a condition called azoospermia. This affects 1% of the global male population. It literally means there is absolutely zero sperm in the semen. Men who get this diagnosis often feel entirely broken, right? They hide it in shame. But here is the medical reality we want to highlight today. Thanks to a modern surgical solution called Micro-TESE, doctors can actually go directly into the testes and successfully find usable sperm 70% of the time. That allows these men to still father their own biological children. No way you'd know that if you just listened to the stigma.
Okay, let's look at part 4, the king of hormones, testosterone's vital role.
If the male body is an orchestra, testosterone is the driving drumbeat that keeps everything in rhythm. So what happens when that drumbeat starts slowing down? The signs of low testosterone are actually common, everyday complaints. If you're dealing with inexplicably low sexual desire, persistent fatigue, irritability, a dropping sperm count, or if you're rapidly packing on belly fat while losing muscle mass, those are your warning bells. It's not just about sex, it's about your overall vitality and your daily energy for life.
And this leads us right into a really fascinating and honestly pretty dangerous metabolic loop. Check this out. When belly fat increases, that fat literally acts as a factory that converts your testosterone into estrogen, the female hormone. As your estrogen rises, it causes immense lethargy and drives your testosterone even lower. That lethargy makes you want to move less, which leads to, you guessed it, even more belly fat. It's a vicious cycle, and to break it, you absolutely must reduce body fat and dial in your diet.
Part 5. Premature ejaculation. Time to break the stigma. This is an incredibly stigmatized condition. But the reality? 1 in 3 men will experience premature ejaculation at some point in their lives. It causes immense emotional pain, shattered self-esteem, and relationship friction. But a huge part of this suffering comes from totally distorted expectations. The porn myth tells guys that normal means lasting 30 minutes or more, which is, frankly, heavily edited fiction requiring a stunt double. The actual medical reality? The normal, physiological time for a man is just 3 to 5 minutes. Honestly, realizing this simple medical truth is often the very first step in instantly relieving massive amounts of performance anxiety. Now, if premature ejaculation is a persistent clinical issue, which is defined as lasting less than 1 minute, there are actually science-backed behavioral therapies to train your brain's neurological circuit. Think of it like training for a marathon. You have the start and stop technique, where you pause right before the edge to extend your stamina over time. There's the squeeze technique, which physically interrupts the ejaculatory reflex. And deeply important is deep breathing, or pranayama. This actively lowers the stress hormone cortisol and calms the entire nervous system down. Finally, Part 6. Reclaiming health. The proactive steps you can take today. Reclaiming your sexual health isn't about finding some magical internet cure. It's about actionable lifestyle adjustments. Better diet, reducing stress, abandoning porn, and most importantly, making a massive shift in mindset. Dr. Jindal sums this up perfectly. He says, masculinity has nothing to do with sexual performance or sperm count. It has to do with how much support you can give. We have got to untangle a man's inherent self-worth from his sexual stamina or his microscopic cell count. True masculinity is about responsibility, presence, and the strength you provide to your partner. Which leaves us with this final, somewhat provocative question to ponder. Are you ready to stop delaying your health, your happiness, and your peace? Because remember, these are treatable medical conditions, not personal failures. It's time to discard the toxic societal myths, step away from the digital illusions, and take proactive, science-backed control of your health today. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this crucial explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you next time.